just be totally honest with ourselves for a second here. Are you spending like 80% of your day on things that simply do not matter? I mean, we all know that feeling, right? That absolute exhaustion at the end of the day, where you're sitting there wondering if you actually accomplished anything meaningful, despite being literally constantly busy. This is the constant, everyday battle. We're always fighting this overwhelming, chaotic noise of what we call the trivial many. That's where you pour in 80% of your effort, only to squeeze out this measly 20% of your results. Compare that to the hyper-focused power of the vital few. That is the sweet spot where a mere 20% of your focused effort actually generates 80% of your life's rewards. It's a total game changer. All right, so let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're bridging the profound theory of the 80-20 principle with the practical execution engine of the MyCS app. What we're really focusing on is how MyCS takes this incredible, century-old economic theory and absolutely supercharges it. We're talking about transforming it from a cool concept you read about in a book into a digital operating system that actually runs your daily life. So here's our roadmap for this explainer. First up, the effort-reward imbalance. Then, meet your command system. Third, briefing for the vital few. Fourth, tracking your high-value habits. Fifth, debriefing and data-driven insights. And finally, building your 80-20 future. Let's get into it.
Section 1, the effort-reward imbalance.
So, at its core, we can define the 80-20 principle as the assertion that a minority of causes, inputs, or effort usually lead to a majority of the results, outputs, or rewards. Discovered way back in 1897 by Vilfredo Pareto, this principle basically proves an inbuilt imbalance in the universe between causes and results. It mathematically demonstrates that most of what we achieve comes from just a tiny fraction of our time. And this right here perfectly illustrates that exact benchmark numerical ratio, 80-20. Think about what this actually means. For all practical purposes, 4/5 of our daily effort, which is a massive chunk of our day, is often largely irrelevant. It's crazy, right? It means that to get more out of life, we don't necessarily need to do more. We actually need to do less, but we have to be far, far more selective about what that less actually is. Which brings us to a really fantastic insight from author Richard Cook. He writes that the 80-20 principle comprises a radar and an autopilot. So, 80-20 thinking acts as your radar, right? It helps you spot those high-value opportunities and dodge the low-value dangers. But here's the catch. A radar alone doesn't fly the plane. You still absolutely need an autopilot to execute the daily steps and keep you in control of your destiny.
Moving right along to Section 2, meet your command system.
It's really fascinating to juxtapose our two core sources today. You've got the 80-20 principle, which is your radar for insight, and then you have MyCS, the My Command System app, which is your autopilot for execution. This is exactly how MyCS enhances the 80-20 principle. It takes those high-level, almost philosophical insights and turns them into a highly executable daily loop where you brief, execute, track, debrief, and learn. Now, to really understand why you need this autopilot, just look at these top 10 low-value uses of time that are constantly bombarding you. Doing things just because other people want you to. Doing things because, well, they've always been done this way. Things you aren't unusually good at. Unenjoyable tasks. Tasks that keep getting interrupted. Things few others care about. Overdue tasks dragging you down. Relying on unreliable collaborators. Predictable, repetitive cycles. And answering the telephone. Ouch. Yeah, that last one hits close to home. But listen, this is the 80%. This is the trivial noise that is actively destroying your productivity. So I've got to ask you, how do you realistically filter out all this low-value noise on a daily basis? Because let's face it, you cannot just rely on willpower alone. Willpower runs out. You need a system. Let's look at exactly how MyCS handles this. Section 3, briefing for the vital few. Okay, so MyCS tackles the morning chaos head-on with a 5-step morning briefing. First, you review yesterday to check your scores. Second, you set and rank your top 3 priorities for the day. Third, you do a quick status check across your active life domains. Fourth, you review your ops schedule to carve out realistic focus blocks. And finally, you confirm and launch. This guided workflow is huge because it explicitly forces you into 80-20 thinking. It makes you pause and actually use your radar before you just start mindlessly working. And the most crucial point here is that Step 5 demands you identify the one thing. This is the absolute highest value 20% priority for your day. It's the single outcome that matters most today. Think along the lines of, submit the Q2 proposal. By locking this in early, MyCS ensures your autopilot is locked onto the exact right coordinates from minute 1. Section 4, tracking your high-value habits. You know, the 80-20 principle tells us we need a well-rounded view of everything we want out of life, right? So MyCS structures your tracking across 9 distinct life domains: career, health, fitness, finance, relationships, family, personal growth, spirituality, and home. By categorizing your tasks and habits into these domains, MyCS ensures you're applying those high-value 80-20 habits evenly. Because you definitely don't want to just win at work and lose at home. This setup gives you a complete, perfectly balanced radar view of your entire life. Which brings us to Section 5, debriefing and data-driven insights. Now, this is where MyCS truly shines as an execution engine. It generates a daily command score for you based entirely on hard data. And the default weights are incredibly revealing. Look at this. Habit completion makes up 25%. Task completion is 20%. Your morning planning is 15%. Schedule adherence is 15%. You get the idea. This isn't just about kind of feeling like you had a productive day. Your daily completion rates provide data-driven, undeniable proof of your 80-20 execution. You can literally just look at your score and know, for a fact, whether you spent your time on the vital few or the trivial many.
Then, you close that data loop with the evening debrief. It's a super quick 4-step workflow. First, you record your sustains, what went well and what you should definitely keep doing. Then, your improves. These are obstacles, but you phrase them as next time improvements rather than, failures. Next, you rate your evening status across your command positions, which are simply the key roles you play in life. And finally, you review and complete by setting tomorrow's focus. This seamlessly refines your autopilot for the very next day, ensuring that your 20% effort gets sharper and sharper over time.
Section 6, building your 80-20 future. To wrap things up, our source text outlines some incredibly potent hints for charting an 80-20 future. It suggests working in networks because they literally multiply in value as they grow. It tells us to seek out small, fast-growth environments and to work for a boss who actually understands 80-20 leverage. It challenges you to find your own unique 80-20 idea that leverages your specific strengths. And above all, become joyfully, usefully unique. You see, the goal of using a tool like MyCS isn't just to be some robot taking off boxes all day. It's to clear away that trivial noise so you finally have the time and the energy to become joyfully unique in your 20% zone of genius. So, I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. We know the 80-20 theory. We know that the vast majority of what we do simply does not yield results. And today, we've seen the MyCS system, the execution engine, purposefully designed to filter out that noise. So are you finally ready to reclaim your time, stop drowning in the trivial many, and let the MyCS autopilot fly your 80-20 radar? Because the future is absolutely yours to build.